Assalamu alaikum and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round 12 of our career mode here at Hungary. As you can see, the AI difficulty is at a 90, so I think maybe at Germany it might have still been 85. I'm not entirely sure, but it is definitely at 90 for round 12. Hungary is a track that I've been practicing a bit of, I guess, as we had Valence League, I think a week before this was recorded, so should be alright. Break nice and late into turn one. We end up just running that little bit wide down into second as we shift up through the gears. Again, because we're on default setup, brake pressure isn't as high as I like it, and running into turn two, we end up going so wide, and that costs us practically a second, really, just in this first sector alone. So that's really disappointing. We're all the way down in 16th, but we are quick through sector 2, dropping it down into 6th, have a bit of a moment with the back end, and now into turn 5, drop it into 3rd, keep it nice and tight as we come back on the power, short shifting through the gears, drop it down into 2nd, but we end up running wide, and we have to cut through the corner. If we hadn't done that, we probably would have gained even more time, so somewhat unfortunate, but into the final part of sector 2, just a little lift, and back on the power on the 6th gear. We're back up into first place now, brake nice and late. We end up running wide once again. The brake just don't have the brake pressure that I would really like, and we run wide into the penultimate corner as well. So it's just been a lap of just not feeling the car very well, not used to that brake setting, and it has cost us, but we get a decent drive through the final corner and we will be able to lock us in for second place. Once again, that pole position eludes us. We were able to pick it up at Austria and Silverstone, but since then we haven't been able to pick one, and as you can see, second place by just a little bit. But for the race, we know how our brake wants to behave, let's say, so let's just focus on having a good race. First time or second time at 90%, we get a decent run off the line, but it's that shift from first to second that really seems to cost us. Both Ferraris are up ahead, and we take a nice little look into turn one as Leclerc comes across us very aggressively, and that will cost us the position. And now the Red Bull of Verstappen having a look, but we're going to dive it down the inside, and we end up making contact with the Leclerc, but we're not going to do any dirty flashbacks for this race. We made a mistake and we are going to live with it. Now, with our slightly damaged front wing, we have to try to close down onto Seb. We have a bit of a lock-up into turn 5. But right now, it's just all about sticking to Sebastian and just making sure that when the DRS is enabled, we are close enough to be able to have a go. Again, that front wing damage is probably about half a second a lap or so, or at least that's what Calcifer tells me. So that's probably a good indication anyway. But we've got 1.3 laps of fuel up about 70% or so. Sorry, I'm a little bit tired. I'm recording the voiceover for this at 3:30 in the morning, but here we go. We can see Vettel ahead, starting to pull a little bit of a lead, but now we've got that first lap done, we can just try to settle in just that little bit. We know we're quick through sector 2, but with damage to our front wing, it's going to be difficult, and honestly, at this point, I didn't know if we had the pace to catch up to Seb, or, you know, if we would just be forced to kind of defend from Max. As things stand, though, looks like we kind of have the pace. Make our way into turn 2, we get a decent run with Vettel just up ahead. We know next lap DRS is going to get enabled, so we need to close in and make sure we stay close enough as we have a really good run through turn 4. But it doesn't matter because the straight just is not long enough to have any go onto the Ferrari. Brake nice and early for the chicane as we don't want to run into the back of Sebastian. Very easy to lose a back end as you kind of Hungarian bunny hop over that curb. Perfectly legal, of course, but it's tricky to get spot on. That being said, you can see Vettel pulling away through the fast left right just because we don't have that front wing. Otherwise we would be able to stick with Sebastian through that entire sector. However, we're still close. We're dragging Max along with us as well, and we should be able to pick up a faster lap of the race, although I think Max might beat us with this. Get a 19.5 and the AI are not able to beat that time, but we are nice and close to the Ferrari now. We won't have DRS down the straight. DRS will be activated for lap 4, so we need to try to stay nice and close. So we run a little bit wide into turn 2, but that's fine. We could take a double apex, as we have to control a bit of oversteer on exit, but coming through the right-hander. We end up running wide and right on the back of Sebastian, almost run into the back of him. But it's just so tricky to overtake here, as we have another moment with the back end, forced to correct for that oversteer. It's still right on Sebastian's tail as another moment, and we somehow catch that. However, it does mean that Sebastian will pull away from us by quite a hefty amount, and this is going to make things tricky because we're too far behind to have a go now into turn 1, or at least so it appears, unless we can really ace this final sector. Otherwise, we have to wait until lap 5 to have a go. We do run very wide into the penultimate hairpin, and I guess we're just going to have to focus on getting the next lap right so we can have a go on the final lap of the race. We open up DRS and knock it up into overtake as well. And we're just too far back. We close right up to Sebastian into turn 1, but yeah, as you can see, we're still pretty far back. But we know we're quick into turn 5, or through turn 5, I should say. Turn 4, sorry, as we make our way through turn 3. And now up the hill, we can see ourselves fairly close to Vettel. We do run a little bit wide. That's going to cost us, but we just need to stay somewhat close to Sebastian through this sector, which all comes down to that front end grip, which we are lacking a bit of. This time we have no shenanigans with the rear end through the Hungarian bunny hop chicane. If we run a little bit wide through the left, right, and into the second of the fast flowing chicanes, we stay somewhat close, closer than we were through a lap 3. Now we just have to get this right hander right, and the next 2 hairpins should follow somewhat easily. We have a lot of fuel left and so we're going to knock everything up into max. We're still in rich. We run a little bit wide, but that's fine because we can take the double apex, knock it up into hot lap. We need to use everything. We're far back, but we have to have the lunge. We have to put our Daniel Ricciardo face on, and we go for it with the lunge. Super late on the brakes. Sebastian turns into us, but that's fine. We end up running him just a little bit wide, but the Ferrari just cannot find the traction on the exit, and we get the job done from so far back. That was a proper Danny Rick move, diving it down the inside into turn 1. I'm sure he would be proud of us. But that's it. That's pretty much the race done. Now we just have to make sure we don't have any moments at all in the second half of this lap and final lap of the race. I guess we've had a couple of interesting Grand Prix. Germany was kind of fun. Silverstone was definitely fun. And Hungary has proven to be pretty enjoyable. A good comeback after some damage to the front wing. But for Spa, we're going to turn up the difficulty to 95. Don't forget, that is the final race that I have done Valence League prep for. So everything else after Spa is where things are going to get difficult. We go purple in the middle sector. I don't quite know if we have the pace to improve into the final sectors. We have a bit of a moment. We get back on the power, and it's all well and good. We improve as well, a new fastest lap, and that is that. Cleanly done. But we do really need to sort out our starts, as we are losing a lot of time there. You can see Toto very, very happy with our performance. That's 6 wins in a row. But that's all that we have time for. Again, if you have any suggestions, do let me know. And we pick up fast lap, the full 26 points. But that's all that we have time for tonight. So until Spa, guys, stay milky, and assalamu alaikum.